Outside of the Echo Chamber, the official I Dream of Indie Games podcast is brought to you by you, the gamer. If you'd like to join our mission to support indie visibility, head over to patreon.com/idreamofindiegames and bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming.
Hello, Indie Warriors. This probably isn't the voice you're used to hearing first thing on a podcast. It is SilentSigns here with Outside of the Echo Chamber. And this week, I actually have a very special guest with me for the first time on the podcast. Ashton, or Scrambled Ashton, or Scrambled Ashto. How do you prefer to be addressed?
Ashton is fine.
Ashton is
Scrambled
fine.
Ashto's only because I couldn't have the N on Twitch. Everywhere else, it's Scrambled Ashton, but Twitch wouldn't let me have the N, so it's Scrambled Ashto.
I really like that one.
Yeah, I think it's funny. Everyone was like, oh, you should just keep it. And I'm like, yeah, but everything else doesn't match.
Yeah.
But maybe I just have to change everything else to match the Twitch.
But, you know,
maybe
it's
that's
like,
what I need to do.
It's like when you're getting dressed. It doesn't have to match. It just has to go. And I feel like it goes. You know, it fits.
Yeah, I feel like it goes. It's very on brand.
It
I have
is.
to be honest.
It is. Well, it is a pleasure to have you here and to actually speak with you for the first time. If you're not familiar with this podcast, which if you're listening to this, you might already be, but our mission here is to celebrate indie games and shine lights on the developers and publishers that create them. So here on the channel, we bring you the daily reviews, we bring you impressions, top 10 lists, the biggest sales, and of course, the show that you're listening to, Outside of the Echo Chamber. So thank you all for helping keep us afloat here and consuming the independent content that we make and sharing our love of indie games, of course. So if you haven't already, please consider supporting us over at patreon.com/idreamofindiegames. Your support grants you access to the coolest indie gaming community, early and ad-free content, and so much more, including this podcast. So give it a go. Check it out. It might be a good time for you. All right. So today we're going to do things a little bit differently since we do have somebody brand new, much like we did a few weeks back with having Ted on the show. We're going to just talk to Ashton a little bit about your gaming history, what brought you into games media, what you're enjoying in the indie gaming scene, and then we'll finally get to our topic, which is handheld gaming. So get into that a little bit later. But first, Ashton, do you want to give us a little bit of history? I know that you were recently involved with Triple Jump for quite some time, and just wanted to talk to you a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I, as of quite recently, became very publicly unemployed, which was a very interesting situation. But before that, I was working for a channel called Triple Jump, which is based in Newcastle upon Tyne in the UK. I've been working there since 2022. I don't know. Time is a construct, and the last 2 years have been crazy.
Yeah,
exactly. Before that, I was just sort of doing nothing of this sort of similar. I was streaming over the pandemic with my fiance, just sort of in our own time, and then transitioned into working for Triple Jump. They put out a post being like, hey, we're hiring another presenter, and I was like, I love games and I also love to yap, so I feel like I can do this. So I submitted a show reel, and then the last few years I've been working for Triple Jump, but unfortunately that channel shut down last month, so I am lucky enough to be working with you guys now, which is very exciting.
Yeah, we're super thrilled to have you here. So when you were there, you weren't doing reviews, so reviews are a new and exciting venture for you, yeah?
Yeah. Well, we had little reviews called Quip Scopes, which was sort of just first impressions, that used to be their own video, but then transitioned into being part of the podcast, but it was very sort of few and far between that we do reviews. So it's been interesting pivoting to actual reviews. I've had to tone down my rambling quite a lot because a lot of the quip scripts are me just going, oh yeah, and then this other thing happened, and then oh yeah, and then this, I forgot to mention this. So I've had to like make sure I'm writing it all down so that I'm actually not forgetting anything this time.
Hey, you never have to tone yourself down. You can be as rambly as you want. Have you listened to Barely Magic Mike and I? We definitely ramble. So full reviews now. That's very exciting. You've had a couple up on the channel so far, which have been wonderful, by the way. Pleasure listening to you.
You have to say that because I'm here.
I really don't. I promise you, when we were alone in a room, I told Joe that I thought your reviews were fabulous. So,
thank you.
Particularly, but mostly because it's way more up my alley. To a T looks so fun.
Oh my god, that game's crazy. I've played it recently on stream. Every time like a new episode begins in the game, you have to listen to the song, and then there's like an ending song as well. And Twitch chat were like, don't you dare skip the songs. So we had to just listen to the 2.5 minute long song every single time and dance to it. But I mean, they are bangers.
Of course.
It's a very interesting game. It's really, really weird. I think that's great.
Games with just full commitment to weirdness and a bizarre sense of humor. Have you played Thank Goodness You're Here?
I have, yes.
Did you enjoy it?
I did, yeah. It's very quintessentially British. I don't know if I could think of a game that is more English than that game is.
Barely Magic Mike and I both played through that game. We love that game so much. Just the full commitment to the bit. I love a good commitment to a bit, you know?
I just love how our little guy just changed size.
Yeah.
In every different shot. He was like a normal sized man, and then suddenly he was a tiny little man. And it was just very weird, but so good.
Yeah.
Such a funny game.
Just nothing else quite like it in gaming.
No,
so,
no there isn't.
Which I guess kind of brings us to our next question. What brought you over to I Dream of Indie Games? Have you always been a fan of kind of the weird and obscure and uniqueness that is indie gaming?
Yeah, I have. I think that it took... So I wasn't much of a PC gamer really until sort of, I want to say like 2019. I had a little sort of like hand-me-down PC from scraps of my partner's PC that he had upgraded, and I got the sort of offcuts.
Frankenstein.
And yeah, I started looking up like on Steam a bit more and seeing a lot of these sort of indie games popping up that I found to be much more interesting than some of the big names. And then especially over the last few years when we've been so sort of intensely involved in gaming, like in the very core audience of video games, I just noticed more and more that the games that I was finding more interesting and the games I was gravitating towards, and also the ones that I was sort of ranking in my top 5 by the end of the year, there was always at least one, if not 2 indie games popping up in my roster of top 5s. I still love a big game, I still love a AAA sometimes, but I just think that the real creativity and the real innovation in gaming is coming in the indie space, and I think that is the most exciting thing to see happen.
Absolutely. I feel like indie games can take risks where AAA games can't always, and that's not always a bad thing. I mean, you could have your excellent like AAA budget open world game and it's fantastic, but indie games, you can have a little guy that changes sizes every other screen. You know, you just don't get that.
Your main character can be stuck in a T-pose and that's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's actually celebrated.
Yeah, I think that is the thing. I think that we were seeing, like, especially recently, we've seen a lot of like sequels and remakes and reboots and sort of, it doesn't feel like anything new is happening in the sort of AAA space, and I feel like in a lot of ways we're pushing games to the point, to as far as they can go in a lot of these big franchises. So indie games are just such a breath of fresh air to just see something so new and so out there, and also just like see the real passion for making games that comes in making an indie, because making an indie game is so hard. and you've got to back yourself 110%. So you know for a fact that they are making this game because they love it, and
Right.
you can always tell with an indie game.
You're so right. Since your departure from Triple Jump, it sounds like you've been doing a lot more on the streaming side of things. Is that correct?
Yeah. I've been streaming like 4 or 5 times a week. Basically, I was just like, what the hell do I do now? What am I supposed to do? On my CV, it says I was a YouTuber for the last 3.5 years. So I was like, I don't know what to do. But I love streaming. I was streaming with Triple Jump for the last few years, and I think it's a lot of fun to just sort of ramble on and play a game and hang out with people in chat. And it's just nice to have a chinwag with people and really just sort of just talk about things that I like and make a tit of myself playing a game badly or getting completely sidetracked in Oblivion and completely forgetting what I was supposed to be doing and not doing a main story quest for like 3 streams.
As one does.
As one does, exactly. But I think I've had a really nice time streaming, and it's been fun to do it. I don't know if I'll continue as much as I have been, because it's like, it takes a lot out of you to be on for like 3 or 4 hours a day. But it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it, and for as long as I can do it, I intend to continue. So yeah,
I have nothing but respect for the streamers that can stream for like full days at a time. Just the stamina it takes to do that. Just all of my respect. What kind of games typically? I mean, you obviously mentioned Oblivion, but what kind of games do you typically enjoy streaming? Do you have any top titles that you prefer?
Well, I really like a game where you can sort of talk whilst playing it, and I think I really struggle with playing really big narrative driven games on stream, because I feel like, 1, you can just play them for 1,000 years, and 2, you can't really like talk with your chat while you're so engrossed in the story. So I like games that are a little bit more exploration or more linear, in the sense that, well, I will watch this cutscene and then we'll play some game and then we'll have a good time. But right now I'm streaming some Oblivion. I have a Indie Wednesday is what I've been doing for the last few weeks, where we play indie games. This week we played a bunch of Steam Next Fest demos. So I've been sort of trying to dip into some indie games every Wednesday. And then I play The Sims. I'm being like actively tortured by Sims every single Friday at the moment. So that's been fun. I'm trying to do a legacy challenge, which is where you have like 10 generations of the same Sims family. I'm on the 1st generation and they're driving me insane.
Ew.
I have like evil goth son, eco-friendly daughter. And then like for the first few years, the parents just would not look after the babies. So, like, they just kept leaving their babies on the floor. And I was like, stop leaving the babies on the floor.
No.
They're going to get taken away. But they've been driving me up the wall. Within the first, like, 15 minutes of the first stream, my starting sim, who is called Tony Baboni, he set himself on fire. The fire people arrived, put out the fire, and didn't put him out. So I was like, please, he's going to die straight away.
They're like, no, we came for the house and that's it.
Yeah. They were like, woo, we did it. And I was like, there's still a fire.
Crisis averted.
What are you talking about? Yeah. But yeah, all kinds of things as sort of mixing things up. We played Revenge of the Savage Planet this week, which is the sequel to Journey to the Savage Planet, which I really enjoyed a few years ago. So I'm quite excited to continue playing that, because that was quite fun.
I'm not familiar with that one. What kind of title is that?
So Journey to the Savage Planet was a first person. It's got that similar sort of quirky humor to do you remember High on Life?
Yes.
That came out.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
It's a bit like that, but I think it's actually a bit better than High on Life. It's a co-op game as well, so you can play it with another person. You basically get dumped onto this planet by this sort of crazy, quirky space exploration company, and you have to scan the environment and try and find your way up to the top of this big mountain, and you gradually unlock more and more equipment and things become more accessible to you, like grappling hooks and stuff. And then they've recently, as I think the last few weeks, released Revenge of the Savage Planet, which is the follow-up game, which is now in third person, which I think is very interesting.
Oh, love that.
And it's very, very similar in the sense that, we've crash landed and all these crates have sort of been scattered all over this planet. So we have to get to the crate, but in order to do that, we have to unlock certain other things. And I think it's a really just jolly little time, and all the characters are quite funny looking and quirky, and the humor's very much ingrained in like all of these silly adverts. Like one of the adverts was for Glorp 2, and it was like, I'm gonna shove this blue sludge down my throat, and you're like, oh,
okay,
fun. Good for you, babe.
Yeah.
But it is they're good little games. I think that I'm surprised more people don't know about them, because I think that Journey to Savage Planet and I guess Revenge, from what I've played so far, are quite fun. So if you're looking for something to play with a friend, then I would recommend checking those out.
Sounds super cool. I'm terrible at first person, mostly because I get sick, which sucks.
Oh no!
Because I obviously play a lot of video games, and we get a lot of video games here at the channel, and whenever they're first person, I'm like, man, I'll take one for the team, but I'm gonna have to like take breaks every 10 minutes. But the sequel is the third person, so that I can do. Very cool. All right, well, outside of streaming and obviously keeping yourself very busy with all of that, and now reviews here at the channel, what else do you enjoy doing outside of, when you're quote unquote touching grass?
Yeah, I literally last night I wrapped up a play that I was performing in this week. I was in Steel Magnolias, and so I do quite a lot of acting in my spare time. I'm a big fan of an AmDram. I love an amateur dramatic society. I think they're great. And I'm part of a theatre here in Newcastle, so I've been doing that recently, a lot of acting stuff here and there. But other than that, I just sort of play video games.
There's nothing wrong with that.
When I'm not playing video games, I'm playing video games.
Yeah.
We're a very gaming household. Me and my partner have 2 TVs in our living room where we sit and sort of mutually game.
Amazing.
Together. Love or separately. So apart from sort of going outside and acting, and sometimes just we live near the beach, so we go to the beach quite a lot. But we also live in England, so it's always cold, so we don't go to the beach that much. But it's mostly gaming. Outside of gaming, I do gaming. So
I love that for you. But the acting is also super cool. A very, very cool achievement to be involved in plays like that. I haven't done that for so long.
I need to use my degree somewhere. I have a degree in drama.
Do you?
That I never use. So I was like, well, I guess I should, do that again at some point.
Absolutely.
That might be good for me to get back out there.
It's a nice outlet too, just something different.
Yeah. And it's a nice way to make friends, because for the first few years of living here, because I moved up here specifically to work for Triple Jump, I didn't know anyone apart from the people at work. And obviously they're lovely, but sometimes you need to talk about people from work behind their back.
Sure.
And you need someone else to talk to. No, I'm just kidding. But it's been nice to make friends, because as an adult, really hard to make friends.
It is. It really is.
But so I basically was like, I'm going to join a club. And then did join a club, and it's been lovely, and I've got lots of friends for life out of it, which is very lovely. So
that is so cool. Do you have a favorite play you've done?
Oh, I did The Railway Children last July, and I played Bobby, and that was just a lot of fun. It was a really nice show, and it was very warm because it was the end of July, and I was wearing like 3 or 4 layers as a Victorian child.
Right.
But so I was sweating, and we basically didn't get off stage for the entire runtime. So once we were on, I just had to suck it up and get on with it. But it's a lot of fun, and it's a really nice part to play, and I really enjoyed that show. So probably The Railway Children is my favourite one I've done so far.
How about some other quick questions to get to know you a little bit?
Okay.
First of all, I understand that you are a fellow cat parent. Is that correct?
I am. I have 2 cats. I felt a bit bad because I only mentioned one of my cats on the introduction video. I actually have 2, and they have video game names. I have one black cat. She's called Sparks, after Sparks from Spyro. And then Ember is also named after a character from Spyro. I wanted to call her Navi, like the little thing from Zelda, but we've never played. We're not a Zelda household, so sort of felt like it was a bit of a cop out. So she's called Ember. But they're very sweet, really naughty, properly naughty at the moment. They've got some sort of bad streak happening. Sparks has recently figured out that if she knocks a box off of a table, it will probably open. So we've come home to the Dreamies being open on the floor. Her cat biscuits box completely spilled all over the floor and her tucking in. And she's already fat, so it's a real problem we're having with her. She's being a proper nuisance, but love them, wouldn't change them for the world, but also hate them. They're so annoying.
Yeah, we have to love our children unconditionally, you know?
We do, yeah.
We have 3 here, so I feel your pain.
Oh, yeah? Tell me all about them. I love hearing about people's pets.
Sure. So we have a very large, fluffy black cat named Nala. She's our oldest.
Cute.
She is a glutton. She has bitten her way through the treat bag just to get to the treats and will hog it from all her little siblings. Our second oldest is Midnight. All of these cats came with the names that they have. So I didn't get to name them. They just kind of came with the name and they were already old enough where it was established and I felt bad. You know?
Yeah. It's like changing a teenager's name.
Exactly. It's like, I adopted you. I'm taking you as you came. You know, it is what it is. Midnight's my little stripy tabby. He's like a dark tabby. He's the sweetest boy in the entire world. And then we have our newest addition, who is Pepper, because he's black and white. He's strange. He has a little bobtail instead of like the full cat tail, and he's every bit as quirky as his tail is. So that's my little brood.
Cute. Cute. I love cats. I'm not a cat person. I'm a dog person through and through.
Oh, we have a dog too.
But,
full house
dream
here.
I want to get a dog, but Ben says that we can't because he thinks that the cats will leave and never come back. And I don't think that's true because I think that they're too needy.
Yeah, exactly.
Too fussy. So they will come back.
We had 2 of these cats when we got our dog, and they were pissed for all of 2 weeks. And then now they're fine. So we have a black lab. He's huge also. He came that way.
Yeah.
We didn't make him that way. He came that way.
They are proper barrels.
He's
they always seem to just be like round.
But our large fluffy black cat and our black lab get along very well because they're both gluttons, and you would think they would compete, but they're not eating the same things. So they're just united in their desire to constantly consume. And I think that's beautiful.
They bonded over their shared love of food. I love that for them. That's so nice.
Exactly. So that's fun. They get along great. They'll never lay quite together, but they'll be like lined up, laying down together. You know. So.
Yeah, and that's all we can ask for, really.
Exactly.
It's just not fighting all the time. Yeah.
That's fun. How about some other fun, quick questions? Do you have a favorite food?
Yes. Steak is my favorite food.
Steak. Ooh.
Yeah.
Delicious.
It's a banger.
Yeah.
There's a big list of foods I love, but I think if you offer me anything anytime, like, oh, what's going to be nice? I'd probably say steak.
A good steak. Yeah.
You can't really go wrong. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, do you any sort of sauces with it or just plain?
I think I don't really like sauces that much. I don't mind a peppercorn sauce. If I'm going proper bougie, I'll do a peppercorn sauce. But I think a steak should just be delicious and tasty.
Enjoyed as is. Yeah. Beautiful.
Yes, exactly.
How about favorite game of all time?
It's a sort of a 2-for-1. The Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West. Those are my favorite games of all time. I think that they are a fantastic series. Aloy is the love of my life. And I just think those games are fantastic. And they never get the credit that they deserve, in my opinion.
I agree. I feel like they're often overlooked, but they are beautiful games. How about the weirdest thing you've ever had to Google that you care to mention on a podcast?
Oh my God. I Google things all of the time.
Same, so.
I will literally have the smallest thought and I'm like, recently we were driving like just down this motorway and I look over and I see this old couple in a house, and somehow my thought process from this old couple sat outside in their garden gets all the way around to me Googling how to freeze sperm. And like I just completely in silence in the course of about 2 minutes had decided that somehow my brain had gone from point to point to point to point to how do they do that? And then my fiance was like, what are you Googling? And I was like, how to freeze sperm. And he was like, I don't want to know how we got it.
Yeah, we're constantly
so that's
Googling
probably up
things.
there.
I'll always find that I'll realize that I don't understand where like a common phrase came from, you know, like a colloquial phrase, and I'll be like, wait, I say this all the time. I have no idea what this means. Like, where did this come from? Why do we say this? And I'll have to Google it. That's produced some weird results. Okay, how about... So Joe wrote this script. Joe, when you're editing this, you mentioned 2 very American programs. Joe wanted to know whether you enjoy Jeopardy more or Wheel of Fortune more, but I'm going to reframe it this way. What is your favorite TV game show?
My favorite TV game show? Now, you mentioned that you know this. I do really like The Chase. Yes. I think The Chase is great. But, like, when we say game show, would you think, like, does Taskmaster count as a game show?
Sure.
Then Taskmaster is my favorite.
Okay.
I absolutely love that show. My dream of life is to one day get on Taskmaster. My worry is that I'm in a race to get famous enough to go on Taskmaster before that they decide that they can't come up with any more tasks.
You know what, Ashton?
They end the show.
We're putting it out into the universe. You're going to be on Taskmaster. It's going to happen.
We're manifesting it.
Yeah, manifesting
Absolutely.
it. It's going to happen. Beer or wine? Unrelated to Taskmaster.
I hate beer.
Not a beer person.
Everyone's like,
Got it.
Try this beer. It's a craft beer. And I'm like, still tastes like piss.
Yeah. Red or
awful.
white wine, though? Or rosé?
Well, I'm a rosé gal myself. But I will drink a nice Sauvy B if one's offered to me, or a white wine. But red wine, absolutely not. Red wine can also get in the bin. Yeah. I hate it.
I have a weird thing where, like, with some red wines, if I try to drink them, it makes me really stuffy. And I have a feeling that means I'm allergic to some component of the wines. But I still keep trying. And I don't know what that says about me.
I just don't like a drink that makes my mouth feel more dry than it did before I had a drink.
It's like it's coated.
But that's not what liquid's supposed to do. Yeah. I feel the same about Aperol Spritz.
I've never had one, but I've heard.
People go crazy for them. They're awful. They're terrible. People will go crazy for them. They're like, oh, drink of the summer. And I'm like, no, it's not. Have a lemonade. Yeah. It's much nicer.
And last, but certainly not least, in this rapid fire collection of the weirdest questions I've ever seen, if you had to be stuck in one game world forever, which one would you choose?
Oh, my gosh. Feels like most game worlds have something wrong in them. So it's sort of like, what is like the one that's going to be least wrong?
Sounds like not The Sims.
Maybe like... Yeah.
You're gonna
maybe
be on
like
fire.
Stardew Valley.
Oh yeah, Stardew Valley.
Yeah, because I feel like it's a peaceful life. You know, I just like have a little farm. I mean, I'm not one who likes manual labor, but if needs must, I feel like Stardew Valley would be the best place to stay. There's not really anything going wrong, so I think that would probably be the best video game world to be stuck in.
That's fair, and I feel like the manual labor is pretty simple there, right? Like it's just.
Yeah, and I think I could just choose not to do it.
That's true.
I could just be like, I'm actually not gonna have a farm. I'm just gonna be like the shopkeeper. I'm just gonna run a little shop. That's my job in the Stardew Valley universe.
Just work on the relationship building aspect. You know, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
All right. Well, those were fun. Let's get into some more current topics then. It's been Steam Next Fest recently, and I imagine you've been playing a lot of that. But have you been playing anything else that you've enjoyed over the last few weeks?
Well, I've been a bit busy the last 2 weeks with the show, but when I haven't been doing the show, I have been playing Date Everything.
Oh, yes.
I did a review on it this week, and I have been playing it. I think it's so good. I just think it's so well made. Like everything about it is really good. I gave it like the highest review thing because I was like, I think this game's just great and everyone should play it because it is just made by voice actors featuring a cacophony of the best voice actors there are. and also every single person is just fit as in the game. Like the woman, the water lady, gorgeous.
I didn't get to see her, but I did see the bed lady. I really enjoyed her fit.
Yeah, she is so sexy. She just stands there with her arms behind her head like, ooh, do you want to come to bed? And I'm like, yes, 100% do. When I was capturing footage for the review, it was like, would you like to turn on the content filter that filters out the sexy things? And I was like, well, I feel like I shouldn't for the purpose of the review, but I had this like back of my mind feeling of Joe is watching you play this game also right now. Like over your shoulder is Joe, who can see the choices that you are making. So I was like, right, if anything comes up, I'm gonna have to just be sensible about this, because Joe has been metaphorically watching over my shoulder.
If it makes you feel better, I can assure you that when we edit videos, we do not watch your footage. We just kind of like scrub through and find like, oh, this character looks cool. Yeah. Let's put that in.
No, that's fair enough. But I just was like, make good choices, Ashton.
Good choices, smart choices.
Yeah, but ever since that's not been happening, I'm making all of the naughty choices.
Oh, good. Live your best life. We don't judge here.
I will.
So, all right, date everything. I've been playing this week a game called Depersonalization, which came out quite a while back now. I want to say it was 2022 or 2023. It's from a Chinese developer, and when it first released, it didn't have the best translations, which is fine. You know, they don't owe us translations in the West, but they've recently done an update and they've improved upon the English translations, and it's much easier to understand now, and it's a really cool game. Actually, I think the biggest issue was that, so it's a bit of it's got that D&D dice roll for whether you're going to succeed in an action or not, and it was a little bit too complex to not have a proper translation, at least for me. So now that I understand the game, it's really cool. It tells a bunch of different stories in kind of a Lovecraftian setting. So a lot of the game is actually set in New England, and we live in New England because Lovecraft wrote a lot of things in New England. I just think it's really cool to be like, oh, it's in Massachusetts. I know where that is.
That's so fun.
But you basically...
I love that. When you're like, hey, that's my house.
I've been there. I mean, this town doesn't exist, but it's basically the same. So it all, like, each little story tells a different mystery, and you're an investigator, and you get to create your own investigator, and they're all really cute. And then you get to solve the mystery and roll the dice to interact with people. And it is a really neat game. It's got some lovely pixel art. And I think more people should play it, because I don't think enough people have played it yet. It also has a feature where you can write your own little stories to have in the game. There's like text-based ones, and then you can actually create your own modules where like you're creating the whole story and the rules to it, and really cool. Like a lot of potential for people to kind of create their own adventures and contribute to this game, and an endless amount of possibilities. So very neat. I've been enjoying that. I'm a little sad, though. I spent a lot of time on that, and I didn't really get to enjoy any Next Fest demos, which is finally kind of winding down now, the Next Fest. Did you get a chance to check out any?
I did, yeah. I played a few. After, because obviously we've had the back end of SGF and all of the many showcases that aren't E3, but, you know, remind us of what we
Filling
lost.
the void.
Yes, exactly. I saw a few games that I really liked the look of during the Wholesome Direct. So I went rummaging around searching for those, and I've managed to find most of the ones that I wanted to try out. So I played a bunch of them, and I have had a great time with a lot of them. So I played Piece by Piece, which was recommended to me by someone in Twitch chat, which is like a little sort of adventure game where you've got 3 like squares, and you've got to connect them as a jigsaw puzzle to get your guy to the end of each level. Gradually things get harder, new mechanics are introduced. The demo sort of gives you a glimpse at what kind of thing will happen, I suppose, further on in the game. So you're suddenly like in a space level instead of a cave, and you've got to go back and forth between the levels, and I thought that was really neat, sort of the different realms that you visit. I think that was really clever. Sorry, I have a scratchy throat.
Okay.
I'm still recovering from a very late night last night, so I'm very scratchy.
That's okay. We did a bunch of cleaning in our house because we're going to be moving in the next month or so, and we stirred up so much dust yesterday that I'm also suffering, so I feel your pain.
Yeah. So then the other things I've played this week, I've played Lost and Found Co., which is sort of like Where's Wally, but a video game. So it's there's like a bunch of little things to find in each level, and they're really nicely hand-drawn, like 2D spaces, but you can sort of take layers off. So if it's a 3-story building, you can like take it down so you can see the inside of this bar, and you have to find certain things, and then in each level there's additional objectives. It'll be like, take a picture of the really cool dancer, or find all the sheep in the level, and find the sort of glitching out items that can help you get clues for further on in the game.
Kind of like an I Spy as well.
Yeah, very much like that. Like, it's little things that will be like, oh, I'm looking for a specific sweet, and there's only one of them in the area, but you have to really go zooming in and looking for it. But that was really nice. I enjoyed my time with that. I also played Discounty, which is like a little shop simulator game where it's all pixel art and it's really sweet, and you own a little shop that your auntie's left to you, and you have to make sure all of the shelves are stocked and cash people out at the cashier, go and get stock and do other things in this town. It sort of seems to imply that the more that you work on it, the longer you're in the town, the more the town will improve. And there's like something sinister happening. So it's very much like in the trailer, it's like, and also sinister. Also something creepy's happening, and I'm like, oh yeah, I love a little bit of creepy jank
Some mystery.
in my cozy games. Yeah. I also played Undusted, which is quite literally just like a cleaning sim.
We checked that one out. We went to PAX East in Boston a few months back, and they had a demo there, and it seems super relaxing, but a little bit stressful because you got to get like every last piece of dust, right?
In all the nooks. Yeah, it's like when I played Power Wash Sim. I'm like, I love that game, but I'm like, I can't find this tiny little speck of dirt that I'm supposed to be cleaning. But yeah, that was a nice fun time. I didn't get to try it yet, but I'm hopeful I'll get to try it tomorrow. Fishbowl is another one where it's like a 2D pixel art, like really looks really nice, and you're playing as this character who edits videos for a living. So it's got like this sort of video editing mechanic, but it's also got a sort of, I want to say Tetris, but that's not the right word. Like when you have to put everything into a box in a specific way so that everything fits kind of puzzles. It's not Tetris, but I just can't think
call
of
everything
the game
like that
I'm thinking of.
Tetris. So
it's items that are shaped in a funny way that you have to fit them all into a square, and also you like video call relatives and stuff, and it looks really nice, so I'm excited to give that a go tomorrow if I get time. And then the last thing I played, and oh man, I had such a good time. I was absolutely gutted when the demo ended. You know when you're like just having fun and then they're like, I'm so sorry, that's the end of the game. I was like, no, absolutely heartbroken. Is Town to City. They showed it off at the Wholesome Direct. It's a sort of voxel city builder where you have a little hamlet and the houses fit along the road, and you've got to make sure they've all got enough food. It's very standard city builder situation. You got to have resources that are not too far away from other things. The more shops you build, the happier people will be. The more houses you build, the more people will come to your town. But it just looks so nice. It's a really unique look to it. It's got all these little voxel guys walking around. it's just like such a nice vibe. It reminded me sort of visually of Tiny Glade that came out last year, where you've got like a little field and you can literally do with it whatever you want to build a house.
So I just pulled up this game and I was like, oh, this art is beautiful. It looks so familiar. They created, the same developer did Station to Station, which is a game that I played a while ago.
Yes.
Yeah. I love their art.
Yeah, Town to City, man. It looks so good. It was so fun. And then they were like, you've reached the end of the demo, and my heart broke. I was like, damn it. And we haven't got a release date for it yet. It says summer 2025. And it is summer 2025. So I have all my fingers crossed that it will happen sooner rather than later, because I think it's a really, really good game. If the demo is still up after the next fest, I fully recommend giving it a go.
Yeah, if it's anything as good as Station to Station was, I think this is definitely going to be a good one. If it happens to come through our inbox, it is all yours.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. Yeah, that's beautiful looking. All right. Well, that's quite a few demos you were able to fit in. That's pretty good.
Yeah, well, they're like quite bite-sized, aren't they? So it's quite nice to sort of set aside a little bit of time to do it. I wish that we didn't have to wait for a next fest. I know that most games like have a demo nowadays. I love that demos are having a resurgence. I think that's fantastic. But it's just, I would like these demos to be available for as long as they can be, for as many people to play them, because I think that they're just great ways to sell these games.
I agree. Sometimes all you need is just that little sampling of what a game's really like. You can watch a trailer and that only tells you so much, but actually getting your hands on the gameplay and making sure it clicks with you is super important.
I also think it's a really good way to promote games. Like Date Everything had a demo recently, and clips from Date Everything demo were going viral. And then suddenly, like, people know all about this game that has come out because people have uploaded clips of the demo. So I think it's a really useful tool for a lot of developers to offer the chance for a demo. It doesn't always go to plan. We saw with, like, Forspoken, when they released the demo for that game, and all it did was get people to cancel their pre-orders. But, you know, they won't always be like that. If it's a good game, it's going to go down really well. So I'm pro demo.
I am also pro demo. As long as your game is in a playable state. If it's not, maybe just don't. Maybe just skip that part.
Yeah.
We really only had one other story this week, which is regarding the Switch 2, which released this past week, which is likely to be the largest console release ever somehow. In the first week, it has sold 3.5 million units globally in its first 4 days on sale. That's not even a full week. That's 4 days. So it is actually the fastest selling Nintendo system ever. Insane. Did you pick up a Switch 2? Were you able to?
We did, yes. We got one on launch from a company called Curry's. Pre-ordered it in the shop like ages ago, and we picked it up. It's a good bit of kit, I have to be honest. Like, Nintendo do some, they are sort of have a big bad bunch of boys in suits that like to sue everyone, but they do know how to make a good console. And then the Switch 2 is just a really good bit of kit. I don't love the handhelds. I actually feel like the Joy-Cons give me hand cramp because they're so flat, because obviously everything's very compact. But I do think that as an upgrade to the Switch, it's a really big step. I think that it feels like the Switch's older sibling, like sort of the cool older sibling who's wears black sunglasses and you can't tell if their vibe's cool or not. That's what I feel like the Switch 2 is to the Switch 1.
Okay. So it ticks a lot of boxes, but maybe just not in the mobile capacity, which actually kind of brings us to our question of the day, which is about handheld gaming. We also saw this week, I believe it was this week. What is time? I don't. But Xbox also announced a handheld console.
Yes, they did.
So are handheld gaming PCs such as the Asus, the Valve one, the Lenovo a fad? Or do you think they'll become a staple of the industry? Do you think there's a future for handheld gaming PCs?
Oh, absolutely. I think that we're seeing everyone try now to get into the handheld market. I think that phones are such a huge moneymaker when it comes to games. And I think that a handheld PC makes so much sense because the people don't have the space for a full setup anymore. People don't have the money to invest in a gaming PC. They're, just getting more and more expensive to be able to play the most recent games. And I think a thing like a handheld gaming PC, like the new Xbox, it's ROG, isn't it? Or am I making that up? It's ROG. I think it might be.
I'll take your word for it.
Could be. But it's because it's not technically made by Xbox. It's an Xbox branded alternative console. But I just think it makes so much sense to branch out into the handheld market. The Steam Deck is such a good bit of kit and such a handy thing to have. My partner works away a lot and he's literally never without his Steam Deck. It's just great to have on hand, especially with what is the plethora of games you can play on Steam. So it'll be interesting to see if these console specific handhelds go down as well as the sort of more general Steam Deck one, or the Asus one. I've never actually encountered someone with an Asus or Lenovo handheld.
Nor have I
don't even really know
to
what
be honest.
Yeah, did you see that one from a little while ago? It was absolutely massive. Like, it was a handheld console, but it was like the size of a monitor screen. It was ginormous.
Yeah, kind of defeats the purpose at that point.
Yeah. They're like, well, it's handheld. I'm like, yeah, if you got muscles, I couldn't hold that above my head. I'd like cave my own skull in if I dropped it. It's absolutely mental size.
If it's not fitting in a pocket or a purse or even a laptop bag, maybe it's not handheld,
No, exactly. But I think that I think that a handheld console is just such a smart thing. And I hope that it goes well for Xbox. I hope that this is a sort of step into what we might see from them going forward. But I also hope that we keep getting handheld consoles from other companies to really make sure the market is rife and full of options for consumers.
I wonder if it's only a matter of time until we see a Sony branded one. I know they kind of had a brief foray into that, but
they have the Portal.
Yeah, but isn't that only local? Like, can't you only play locally?
Yeah, yes, sort of. So they've sort of changed it a bit, or they are changing it. I remember that they've upgraded the software or they're making a new one. But initially it's literally just like a mirroring console. So if you wanted to watch the TV whilst also playing your PlayStation, you could. But then you can do that with like your phone, with the sort of PlayStation, I can't remember what it's called, but the sort of mirroring thing. I think they have changed it so that the Portal can now be used, play games natively on it or stream games without having to turn your PlayStation on, but it doesn't have the hardware to actually run it natively on the piece, on the thing. So I think it will be interesting to see if they make one that does do that, or if they just stick to what they do best, which is making a home console.
It seems like they had a halfway thought. They were like, the handhelds are the way of the future, let's make one, but then they didn't remember to make it functional in the way that people need it to be.
That's Sony's whole MO, really. They just like release something out into the universe and then they're like, I think it's probably fine, and then they just don't do anything with it. Like the PlayStation VR 1,
we had that,
just got abandoned. Yeah, just they were like, there's some games, and then they were like, and now we can't really be asked to talk about it anymore, but we'll make a second one anyway, and then we won't talk about that anymore either.
I played.
So it's a very Sony thing to do.
Played Moss on the PSVR, and that was like it.
That's such a
good game, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is the future. There's going to be so many more great games just like this, and then there wasn't. But then we got a Meta Quest, and then it all worked out. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to handheld gaming, I feel like there was such a long period of time where there was no handheld consoles. Like very, very early, Nintendo had so many, you know, they had the Game Boy Advance, the DS. Like I feel like every other year there was a Nintendo handheld console, and then that concept kind of just got abandoned and no other companies were making them, or at least not that I was aware of.
Yeah.
And there's been such a resurgence since, I guess we don't really count the Wii U, do we?
Well, no, I don't know if Nintendo really counts the Wii U
we just
either,
kind of
to be
skip
honest.
over that one. But since the Switch, I feel like the Switch is really what brought about a lot of these handhelds, right? Like that was even predating the Steam Deck.
Because the Switch is like 10 years old now.
It's
It's
got some history.
It's got some history to it, and like the Steam Deck is only, I think, since it wasn't that. I think it was like 2021.
Right?
No, it must
Somewhere
have been
in that region.
maybe 2019.
When
I
we
think,
were all
potentially
home
around
playing
there.
our Switches is when they.
Yeah, it was a home thing, but yeah, I mean, Nintendo really, in so many ways, have paved so much of the gaming landscape, you know, as we know it now. But I do think that the Switch was just such a clever choice for them to do, because it set them so completely apart from Xbox and PlayStation and let them continue their console war for as long as, well, until now. I think we're going to see Xbox rescind ever making another console again. But I think that, yeah, it was just so clever, and it is a really, really good idea to have a handheld device of some sorts, because people are on the move so much now, and you know, we are a culture of convenience, and a handheld console is convenient to have in your house because you can take it with you, you can play it in bed. It's just much more convenient than having a full console setup or PC and desk
more
and stuff.
Compact, you know, even if you're not taking it on the go, you have that little thing that's all you need. And you can even, at least with the Steam Deck or the Switch, you can hook it up to the TV, you can play it that way. It's the versatility that I think is making it so desirable for folks. I've personally never been one to play a lot of handheld games, just because if I want to play a game, I want that experience to be kind of like cinematic almost, depending on the game, obviously.
Yeah, I feel the same.
If I'm playing like Vampire Survivors, by all means, I'll play it on the Steam Deck. You know, it doesn't have to be beautiful. It just has to function. But if I'm playing something like I recently played Tainted Grail, which is a pretty epic open world game, I don't think I could play that on a handheld. So
no, I feel very much the same. Like I think it's absolutely insane, and I don't know how they did it, that Tears of the Kingdom ran on the Switch one. That is literally magic, and whoever made that happen is a witch.
I don't understand.
But I would never play that game in handheld mode. Because I think you just lose so much of the experience.
Exactly. I appreciate that the option is available for folks, especially if handheld is your only option. But if it's not your only option, what are you doing? Play it on a nice big clear screen, you know?
Exactly. I completely agree. I'm very much the same when it comes to games like that. I mean, Mario Kart, yeah, play it in handheld mode. This is just Mario Kart. But a game of that depth and that size just should not be played on a little screen. It needs a telly. It needs a TV. It needs the speakers. You need to be comfy, cozy in a blanket on your sofa and playing your Zeldas.
Maybe a nice little cozy cup of tea, you know.
Yeah, exactly. That is how I say you need to play this game, and you must listen to me because I said it.
You heard it here first. Ashton makes the rules.
Yeah, it here first. I do, it's true.
All right. Well, it's been an awesome opportunity to talk to you on this podcast this week. I'm so glad you were able to make it, and we were able to make this work despite our time differences.
I know, I'm very sorry. I feel like I've made you get up
no,
so early.
No,
on a
not
Sunday
at all.
as
I was
well.
awake before this, so you're fine. But before we wrap up here, we do have some pretty exciting stuff coming up on the channel this week, a lot of which I can't talk about yet, as always, but we always have our upcoming indie releases coming up on Monday for you to look forward to if you're not already seeing it, because, you know, this is going live on the public feed after that, but check that out. There's a ton of games this week, and I mean a ton. We were literally up until like midnight last night putting that list together, so
Oh my
you should go
God.
watch it. We've got to look at Through the Nightmares with Barely Magic Mike coming up, Hidden Indie Gems on Friday. We've got some other stuff cooking up that we're really excited about. So definitely keep it locked here to I Dream of Indie Games if you do enjoy an indie game. That is what we are all about. Thank you again, Ashton. This has been a lot of fun. Any closing words for the people?
Oh gosh, that's a lot of pressure now. I've got to come up with something really profound. My closing words are, if you want to play your Zelda games, you must have a blanket on top of you. You must nest. Nesting is important. I think that building a nest to play your video games is number one imperative thing you must do when playing video games.
Words of wisdom.
Also, play date everything, because that game's great.
Yeah. Play date everything and date everything. You can even date your pillows and blankets. So we've come full circle.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
All right. Well, usually Joe closes this out with a fart sound if you've ever listened to this podcast. I'm not going to do that because that's not who I am as a person. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.